Hello! We're measuring levels of illumination, and today we're using a light meter which has a sensor that is sensitive to light and a digital display to read out the levels of illumination in foot candles and also in lux. Normally when we measure environmental illumination, we hold the sensor about 30 inches off the ground or off the floor, and that's where we take our reading. If we're indoors at a person's workspace, we will often place this on a desk or a table or other work surface so that we get the level of illumination right at that work surface. Let me come closer so that you can see this, this light meter. Now this is our sensor which responds to light, and this is the digital display. Now in very bright light, this meter has two settings on it, and in very bright light we put the meter on a setting where we have to multiply the reading by 10. And as you can see, if we multiply that number by 10, we're somewhere around 10,000 foot candles at solar noon on an August day on a hillside in northeastern Kansas. It's now about 7 o'clock in the evening. It's about 1 hour before sunset, and at this time the sun is still up. It's almost to dip down behind the trees that are behind us. My upper body is still in the sun. Down where I'm holding our light sensor, it appears to be shaded, and at that level, about 30 inches above the ground, we're reading about 500 foot candles. Now 500 foot candles is much lower than the reading that we got here at noon. At noon we were picking up 10,000 foot candles. This level, 500 foot candles, is a much more comfortable level of lighting for reading, for close inspection and tasks like that. This is an excellent level of lighting that we often try to reproduce inside office buildings and factories where people are working. I'm going to come closer to the camera now so that you can see the level of illumination. As I do that, I'm going to be walking more into the shade, and we may see the level of light go down a bit. At this time, I'm holding the sensor for our light meter down about 30 inches above the surface of the ground, and you can see as I've stepped farther into the shade, our level of light is going down. We're right now somewhere around 400 foot candles, which is still an excellent level of illumination for reading, for inspecting, and most types of office and industrial tasks. Well, it's now 7:15, and I'm completely in the shade, and our light levels are dropping very fast. Right now, our light meter says that we have illumination of about 200 foot candles. And 200 foot candles, this is about the lower limit of where we want people doing tasks such as very fine inspecting without some type of supplemental lighting. Again, I'm going to come closer to the camera so that we can see what our light meter is doing right now. As you can see from our light meter, right now we're reading just a little bit over 200 foot candles here in the shade at about 7:15 in the evening in late August on a northeast Kansas hillside. The light levels are dropping very quickly. It's about 7:30 in the evening now. We are in the shade because of the hills and the trees, but it's still about 30 minutes before official sunset here in Riley County, Kansas. Our light meter right now is measuring about 165 to 170 foot candles. So it's continuing to go down. I'm going to come up to the camera now so that we can look at this just a little bit closer. And I want to show you a function of this light meter. Now I'm holding the light sensor about 30 inches from the ground. You can see it's somewhere around 170 foot candles. As we get to these lower levels, it can be helpful to measure light, not just in foot candles, but in lux. And 1 lux is 1/10 of a foot candle. So when we measure in lux, our number is 10 times higher than it was in foot candles. And especially as we get down to the very low levels of light, say down to 20 foot candles or below, it can be very helpful to look at illumination in terms of lux because it is more precise. We'll move it back to foot candles. And it does appear to be dropping just a bit right now. We were about 170 just a few minutes ago. It's being held in the same position. We're down to around 160 right now. Well, it is now 7:45. We're just about 15 minutes before official sunset here in Riley County, and our light level has dipped below 100 foot candles. It's reading about 90 foot candles right now, about 30 inches above the ground. We're getting to a level which is still okay for general factory work, assembly of large parts, but for any type of fine visual discrimination task, we're definitely going to need some supplemental lighting at these levels. I'll come closer to the camera so you can see the display. It's now just a little before 8 o'clock. We're about 5 minutes before official sunset, and our level of light is about 40 foot candles. Now it's certainly safe for workers to move around, to move materials in this level of light, but we don't want to ask them to do anything that requires any more fine visual discrimination than, say, assembling very large parts or moving materials. If we ask workers to read small type for any length of time at this level of light, it will cause quite a bit of eye strain. Again, I'll bring this closer to the camera. Well, it is now officially sunset in Riley County, and our light meter is measuring just under 20 foot candles. Now this is a level where really we won't have workers doing any type of work other than just basically moving around. This is about the same level of light that you would have in a parking garage, in a dimly lit parking garage, or maybe in a poorly lit elevator. And again, I'll come closer to the camera so you can see. Well, it is now 5 minutes after sunset, and the light levels are dropping rapidly. We're now below 10 foot candles, and we are at a level now where we start to get concerned about people's safety. We start to wonder if they've got enough light to move around safely in their environment. It is now 10 minutes after sundown, and we have reached a milestone. We are now below 5-foot candles, and this is the level where the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, requires us to provide supplemental lighting in areas such as construction sites and other work areas. We're just about 15 minutes after sundown, and we've reached another milestone. We are now below 2-foot candles, and this is a level that just about every standard setting organization recognizes as being too dark for people to move around in safely, and supplemental lighting is definitely needed just for people's safety. It is now 20 minutes after sundown, and we are below 1-foot candle. At this point, our light meter is reading 0.6 foot candles. It is now 25 minutes after sunset, and our light meter is reading 0.2 foot candles, and it's getting very hard for me to see the display. And as I've moved over closer to the camera, it's fluctuating between 0.1 and 0.2. Now our light meter will not register anything below 0.1, so we're just about done measuring tonight. Let's move this to lux. And one lux is 1/10 of a foot candle. And it is reading right now 1 lux. Or 1/10 of a foot candle. So we have reached the lower limit of detection with our light meter. This is as low as we can go, and this is a level of illumination that would definitely be hazardous for people to be walking around and working in. I'm here at the feed mill at Kansas State University. I'm in a working area of the mill. You can see a lot of equipment around me. Out in the well-lit portions of this work area, there's about 9-foot candles of illumination. That's enough illumination for us to get around safely and for us to make some minor adjustments to our equipment. Now you can see that some of our equipment is back in the shadows. This equipment is in an area where there's about 3-foot candles of light, and this machinery might need some adjustments from time to time. If it needed any major work, if I was going to have to do some fine detail work back here, 3-foot candles is not very much illumination, and I would probably want to have some task lighting. For instance, I might want to use a trouble light here so that I could see better if I were working on this equipment. We're in an electrical maintenance room at the feed mill at Kansas State University. The level of illumination in this room is about 60-foot candles, and that's enough illumination to do most of the tasks that we would ordinarily come in here to do. For instance, we might come in here to shut off and lock out power to machinery, or to turn on power to machinery. 60-foot candles of light is plenty for that. Well, we're in a major hallway at one of the academic buildings at Kansas State University, And the level of illumination here is about 40-foot candles. We're in a well-lit office at Kansas State University, and the level of illumination on our work surface is about 115-foot candles, which is adequate for most people to read. Some people still prefer to have some supplemental lighting for doing fine work in an area such as this, so a desk lamp would certainly be appropriate in this environment.